Hello, pioneering patrons. This is for tier 3 of this Patron community. Right now, I'm speaking to you. You know who I'm speaking to. This video is really specially for you as you endeavor your own self-directed leadership path, i.e. a totally sovereign creator, and also ultimately like a healer and guide in the world of like the 3D reality. We support, guide, love, and shine for people, essentially, like really becoming the truth of our knowing, which this is often the case when we're ingesting a lot of new information, when we're doing courses, when we're learning new modalities, whether it's shamanism, whether it's yoga, breath work, and actually it all kind of goes together as far as aligning us to the truth of our knowing. I'm feeling like simply expressing my gratitude and appreciation for your choosing to be here, and on a kind of a broader piece, for you choosing your own empowerment and your own unfolding in the truth of who you are. One thing that's coming through right now is simply to really practice the art of meditation when it comes to discerning the truth inside the self versus the mental capacity of thinking. In Eckhart Tolle's language, it is astounding actually how addicted we are to thinking, how we go on and on and on about our behavior and our addictive tendencies, i.e. the impulse, and yet we're not looking at where do our behaviors come from and how do we end up in these emotional patterns. Well, it's because of the thought programming that programming and then the attachment to the emotional field. Those connector points ultimately keep perpetuating us in these enslavement and or disempowered cycles. So dropping into the truth of the self is in an instant, and it's one moment, and it's a visceral connection. Once we really kind of hone in and or lock into that connection, we don't ever want to go back. And that has to do with giving our power externally, including thought. Recognize that thought is an aspect of creation. It's not the creative void itself. And so with thought, we're continually asking ourselves to be increasingly discerning with what our thought projection is, and then how the physical and or emotional body is interpreting and or relating to those thought frequencies. So things that don't feel good, things that don't feel empowered, or things that feel confusing or blah, then we can drop that, we can let that go. And that's something in my own practice, even in connection to friends, family, clients, you know, people that are in the field. It's like, to each their own, and each is allowed to be where they are, and yet it's not up to us to get in there into the other mind or into other heart. That's only a reflection of our choosing to see that which we choose to see. And so it's always nice to come back to the choosing that all are in their divinity, that the namaste, i.e. we see the divinity in all, we see the light in all, we see the truth, and yet perhaps we can feel a dissonance or feel that something is off. And again, just know the knowing. Just trust the knowing, and avoid the temptation to think it out. And that's often, I know in my own life journey, that's been a big piece of getting to these new points in manifestation, where a lot of the learning was via the intuitive recognition and then the rationalizing out of intuitive knowing. So having the intuition say, you know, you should get out of this situation or leave, and then having the rational mind jump in and rationalize myself out of following the intuition, and then bad things happen and or big lessons, right? So lessons are always just par for the course, but remember, again, it's the individual essence of the lessons that we give to ourselves, that we're not here to judge other people, and that ultimately the other is always in a lesson. We're always in a pattern of unfolding. As long as we're in these bodies and having this life experience, and there is an unfolding in our life experience, partly to do in a aspect of greater feeling of belongingness, greater feeling of union here on earth. And that is, of course, part of the evolution of our species, via the stories that we tell on a specific timeline. that we're a piece of the puzzle. You know, we're a droplet of rain in the lake or the ocean, or a wave in the ocean. It's only ever really our egoic function to take us as separate as higher or lower, better or worse, as a divisive separation construct, versus like the experience of separation via unity, which is of course a reversal of the world's projected constructed reality, and it's a unification of the self with this so-called reality. It's there's never a separate function, because the totality is contained in unity. I hope that was useful to you, Rachel, and any top tier patrons that come along. I so appreciate you, and ultimately give such great love for you in this community, in this growing community, because you align and resonate and show up in a way that feels supportive for me, and something I've been asking for. And it is only my greatest wish that I can offer that same joy, support, and love to you and to all. Big